Hey everyone, and welcome to Vintage Car Chronicles. We're your daily stop for all things automotive history, and you can find us on Spotify, Deezer, Apple Music, and YouTube. Today, we're diving deep into a car that's been generating a lot of buzz from you all, the Alfa Romeo 156.
Ooh, yes.
And you know what? You've sent in a ton of great stuff, articles, specs, even some personal stories that really bring this car to life. So I'm excited to jump in.
Me too.
Just glancing over everything, we're looking at iconic design, some really groundbreaking engines. I mean, who doesn't love a Busso V6?
A classic.
Exactly. And even a peek into the 156's racing legacy. I'm already hooked. What's grabbing your attention right off the bat?
You know, what fascinates me about the 156 is that it's not just a pretty face, it's a real turning point for Alfa Romeo.
Interesting. Okay.
It managed to capture that classic Alfa Romeo DNA, that blend of performance and style, but at the same time, it pushed boundaries in design and technology.
Okay, let's break this down a bit. My head's already spinning with questions. First off, what exactly was the Alfa Romeo 156 going for? I keep seeing this phrase, compact executive car, in the sources, but that feels a little like a marketing term. What does that actually mean for someone shopping for a car back in the late 90s?
All right, picture yourself back then.
Okay.
You're looking for something a step up from your average family hatchback. You want more space, maybe a little luxury, but definitely not something boring. That's where the compact executive segment comes in.
Gotcha.
Think BMW 3 Series, Audi A4, Mercedes-Benz C-Class, that kind of crowd.
Okay, yeah.
These buyers wanted performance, but it had to come in a sophisticated package. And the 156, well, it debuted at the 1997 Frankfurt Motor Show, and it was ready to shake things up.
Speaking of shaking things up, it didn't just show up, it completely dominated. Winning the 1998 European Car of the Year award is no small thing. What did the 156 bring to the table that wowed those judges?
Oh, that award is huge.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just be a good car. You have to impress judges from all across Europe who are evaluating design, engineering, performance, the whole shebang.
Wow.
The 156 had this potent combination of groundbreaking styling. I mean, it moved away from those boxy designs everyone was used to, sleek curves, that distinctive Alfa grille, and then you pop the hood.
Okay, yeah.
And there you find a range of innovative engines. You've got the twin-spark gasoline engines, and get this, the world's first common rail diesel engine in a passenger car, the JTD.
Hold on. World's first. That's massive. We've got to talk about that JTD engine a bit more later for sure. But first, you mentioned the styling being so groundbreaking. The sources mentioned a designer by the name of Walter de Silva. What was his vision and what inspired him to create this, well, masterpiece?
De Silva was a rising star back then, known for designing cars that were both beautiful and functional. He later went on to design some iconic cars for Audi and Volkswagen, actually. But with the 156, he tapped into classic Alfa Romeo cues, like those round taillights of the Giulia and the sporty proportions of the 1900. But he didn't just rehash the past. He brought in this modern edge, almost futuristic, with those sharp creases and that hidden rear door handle trickery. Pure genius.
Oh, those hidden door handles. That's one detail that really jumped out at me from the research. It's such a cool way to get that coupe-like look. And it's not just that. The way the hood slopes down so dramatically, that bold grille, there's so many elements that work together to make this car so visually striking, even today.
Exactly. And those details weren't just about looks. They created a car that exuded dynamism, sportiness, sophistication. It was like a breath of fresh air compared to the more conservative designs of its rivals.
All right, we've drooled over the looks. Now let's get under the skin. The 156 came with a pretty diverse range of engines. You already mentioned the JTD's revolutionary diesel technology, but what about the overall approach? What were they aiming for with this engine lineup?
They were all about offering choice without sacrificing character. Alfa Romeo was pushing boundaries with both petrol and diesel technology at the time.
I see.
As we said, the JTD Common Rail diesel was a game changer. It offered performance and efficiency that older diesels could only dream of. It really shook up the industry.
Wow.
And on the petrol side, you had the twin-spark engines, which were all about squeezing more out of every drop of fuel, using 2 spark plugs per cylinder.
Hey, 2 spark plugs.
Yeah, allowed for a more complete and efficient burn of the fuel-air mixture, which meant both power and efficiency gains.
That's clever. I never realized that was an Alfa Romeo thing. Was this purely a performance move, or were there other factors involved?
Performance was a key factor, for sure. But that twin-spark technology also helped Alfa Romeo meet those increasingly stringent emissions regulations, which were becoming a big deal at the time. It was a smart way to have their cake and eat it, too.
Speaking of having your cake and eating it too, We haven't even gotten to the engine that seems to make every enthusiast swoon,
Ah,
the legendary Busso V6. Why does this engine hold such a special place in the hearts of car lovers?
the Busso V6. It's not just an engine, it's a symphony of mechanical beauty, designed by the brilliant Giuseppe Busso.
Okay.
This engine is legendary for a reason. It embodies everything Alfa Romeo stands for:
Hmm.
passion, performance, and a sound that can send shivers down your spine.
Okay, I'm hooked. What is it about the Busso V6 that makes it so special, so emotive? Give me the details, the sounds, the sensations. What makes this engine sing?
First, it's the sound. Imagine a deep, throaty growl, almost musical in its precision.
Oh, wow.
It's a sound that sets it apart from anything else on the road.
Yeah?
A symphony of perfectly timed explosions that can make even the most jaded driver crack a smile. But it's not just the sound. The Busso V6 was also known for its smooth power delivery, its effortless ability to rev high, and its incredible durability. These engines were built to last, and many are still singing their mechanical song today.
You mentioned this engine being used in a variety of Alfa Romeo models. What are some of the standout examples where the Busso V6 really shines, where its character perfectly matches the car?
Oh, there are so many. But if I had to pick a few, the Alfa Romeo GTV6 from the 80s, the 164 sedan from the 90s, and of course the 156 GTA, they all showcase the Busso V6 in all its glory, each with their own unique flavor. It's fascinating how one engine, across different decades and car models, can be both a constant presence and a chameleon, adapting its character to suit each car's personality.
And in the 156, we got to experience this Busso magic in a 2.5-liter form, right? Was this the sweet spot for the 156, the perfect pairing of engine and car?
Absolutely. It gave the 156 an edge, a level of excitement and performance that truly made it a driver's car.
Okay, I need a moment to process all this engine talk. From a revolutionary diesel to a petrol engine designed to get the most out of every spark, and then this legendary V6. It's incredible how much innovation and passion went into the 156's power plants. But it wasn't just about what was under the hood, was it? This car had a whole other side to its personality, a competitive streak that played out on the racetrack.
Oh, you're absolutely right. The 156 wasn't content with just being a stylish road car. It had a hunger for competition, and it proved itself in touring car championships like the ETCC.
Right. From what I've read, the 156 made quite a name for itself in racing. What were some of the highlights of its racing career? Any specific victories or championships that really stand out?
Well, the 156 was a force to be reckoned with in the ETCC during the early 2000s. It secured an incredible 4 consecutive championship wins from 2000 to 2003.
Wow. 4 in a row.
Yes, it was a golden age for Alfa Romeo in motorsport, and the 156 was the star.
That's amazing. It must have been so exciting to see the 156 battling it out on the track, proving its performance against the best touring cars in the world.
It was electrifying. Those races were legendary. Seeing the 156, decked out in its racing livery, going wheel to wheel with rivals like BMW and Audi, the crowds went wild. The atmosphere was electric.
I can only imagine. The sources mentioned drivers like Fabrizio Giovanardi and Gabriele Tarquini as being key to the 156's success. What was it about these drivers that made them such a perfect fit for the car?
Both Giovanardi and Tarquini were exceptional drivers, known for their skill, their precision, and their ability to push the 156 to its absolute limits.
Yeah.
They were both multiple-time champions, and their battles with rivals, especially those from BMW, were legendary. They had this incredible synergy with the 156, and their victories cemented their place in Alfa Romeo's Motorsport Hall of Fame.
It's amazing how motorsport can take a car from just a product and elevate it into legend. Those victories on the track become part of the car's story, adding a layer of mystique and desirability that goes way beyond just a showroom.
Exactly. The 156's racing pedigree is a huge part of its appeal. It's a reminder that this wasn't just a stylish sedan. It was a car born from racing heritage. It was designed to push boundaries and exceed expectations.
And those victories on the track definitely had a ripple effect, boosting Alfa Romeo's image and reminding everyone why they were such a force to be reckoned with in the automotive world.
Absolutely. The 156's racing success revitalized the brand and reinforced their reputation for performance, passion, and that Italian flair.
So we've got this car that's stylish, innovative, capable on the road and the track, with a history steeped in motorsport glory. It's quite a package. But before we move on, I'm curious about one detail I came across in the research. Apparently, the 156 was a popular choice for law enforcement in Italy and other countries.
Oh, that's right. You'd often see Alfa Romeo 156s, both the sedan and the sport wagon, patrolling the streets, decked out in police livery. It was quite a sight to see.
It's not the typical image that comes to mind when you think of a police car. What made the 156 such a good fit for law enforcement?
Well, it was a few things. Firstly, the 156 was fast and agile, crucial for pursuits and emergency response.
Yeah,
Makes sense. It could keep up with the bad guys, but still look good doing it.
of course, it's an Alpha.
Exactly. Secondly, it was practical and roomy, with enough space for officers, equipment, and, even the occasional perpetrator in the back. And let's be honest, the 156 just looked fantastic in police livery. It projected an image of authority and style all in one sleek Italian package.
It's like they were saying, we're here to enforce the law, but we're going to do it with a touch of Italian flair.
Exactly. And I think that really sums up the spirit of the Alfa Romeo 156 perfectly. It blended performance, practicality, and style in a way that few other cars could match. It was a head-turner, a statement piece, and a car that truly left its mark on the automotive world.
It really does seem that way. The Alfa Romeo 156 was more than just a car. It was a cultural icon, a symbol of Italian design and engineering, and a testament to the power of passion and performance. But before we move on, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on its lasting impact. How did the 156 shape the future of Alfa Romeo? What are some of the key takeaways from its success? And what lessons can we learn from this remarkable car that are still relevant in the automotive world today? Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll reflect on the 156's legacy and explore its lasting influence on the world of cars.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the Alfa Romeo 156. Before the break, we were talking about the 156's impact on Alfa Romeo's image and how it connected with so many people. It's really interesting how one car can shift perceptions and even revitalize a whole brand. What are your thoughts on this?
We've covered a lot of the tangible aspects of the 156, the design, the engines, that racing pedigree, but there's also something intangible about it too, something that goes beyond the numbers and specs.
Right.
It's like the 156 has a personality, a charm that just draws you in and makes you feel something. It's not just a car, it's an experience.
I completely agree. Alfa Romeo has always had this ability to give their cars a spirit, a soul, and the 156 is a perfect example. It's not just a product of its time. It's a car that went beyond its era and captured what Alfa Romeo is all about, that passion, the performance, that touch of Italian flair, and it still resonates today.
It reminds us that cars can be more than just transportation. They can be things we desire, ways to express ourselves, sources of real joy and excitement. And the 156 seemed to embody that perfectly, especially for those who actually got to experience it from behind the wheel.
Oh, absolutely. The 156's legacy lives on not just in the cars Alfa Romeo makes now, but in the hearts and minds of the people who are lucky enough to experience its magic firsthand.
Speaking of its legacy, one of the things we talked about earlier was the 156's groundbreaking JTD engine. You said it was the world's first common rail diesel engine in a passenger car. I remember back when diesels were considered noisy, smelly, and just slow. What was it about the JTD that made it so revolutionary and changed people's minds about diesel engines?
You're right, diesels had a pretty bad rap back then. But the JTD, that stands for Jet Thrust Stoichiometric, with its common rail injection system, it really flipped the script. It wasn't just a small improvement, it was a whole new way of thinking about how diesel engines work.
Okay, break it down for me.
Yeah.
How does common rail injection actually work, and what made it such a leap forward from the older diesel tech?
Okay, so basically common rail injection uses a high-pressure fuel pump to create this constant supply of fuel.
Right.
And it's ready to be injected into the cylinders. This lets them control the timing and amount of fuel that's injected super precisely,
Right.
which means you get a cleaner burn, better performance, and you use less fuel.
So it's all about precision and control, delivering the fuel exactly when and where it's needed. And that was unheard of in diesel cars before the 156.
Exactly. Alfa Romeo was leading the way in diesel technology with the JTD. It was a bold move, but it really paid off. The 156 JTD offered this amazing mix of performance and fuel efficiency that none of its rivals could touch. And it caught on quickly, especially in Europe, where people wanted both driving enjoyment and to save some money at the pump.
It's wild to think that this tech, which is so common in diesel cars everywhere now, started out in this stylish Italian sedan. It really shows Alfa Romeo's willingness to innovate and push the boundaries.
They weren't just following trends, they were setting them. And with the JTD, they did just that, basically paving the way for a new era of diesel engines that were both powerful and efficient.
And let's not forget about the other side of the 156's engine lineup, those innovative twin-spark gasoline engines. You mentioned before they used 2 spark plugs per cylinder. What was the idea behind that, and what were the benefits?
Alfa Romeo had been working on that twin spark technology for years, and it really hit its stride with the 156. The idea was pretty simple but clever. By using 2 spark plugs per cylinder, they could ignite the fuel-air mixture much more efficiently. And that had some really good side effects.
Okay, I'm listening. What kind of benefits are we talking about? Was it all about horsepower, or were there other pluses to this twin-spark setup?
Power was definitely a factor. The twin spark tech let them squeeze more horsepower out of their engines while still keeping fuel efficiency in check.
Okay.
But it also was a big help in letting Alfa Romeo meet those increasingly strict emission standards that were becoming a headache for car makers around the world.
So it was a win-win.
Hmm.
More power, better gas mileage, cleaner emissions. A perfect example of how technology can be driven by both a desire for performance and need to be good to the environment.
Exactly. The twin spark engines in the 156 embodied that perfectly. They offered a blend of sporty performance, a really refined and characterful engine note, and good fuel economy, all while being easy on the environment.
It's cool how Alfa Romeo managed to include this cutting-edge tech while staying true to their brand identity, that feeling of passion and excitement for driving.
Absolutely. That's what makes the 156 so compelling. It wasn't just about checking boxes or meeting the bare minimum. It was about pushing boundaries and creating a driving experience that was both thrilling and engaging.
Speaking of thrilling and engaging, we can't talk about the 156 without digging deeper into that heart and soul of its performance. The Busso V6. It's an engine that seems to make enthusiasts, well, almost reverent. What is it about the Busso V6 that's so special, so revered?
Ah, the Zo V6. It's more than an engine. It's a work of art, a testament to Alfa Romeo's dedication to creating engines that really stir the soul.
I'm sold. What makes this engine so unique? What sets it apart from other V6s of its time?
Well, first of all, it's the sound. It's this intoxicating mix of mechanical precision and raw power.
Okay.
This symphony of perfectly timed explosions that create a sound unlike anything else on the road. It's a sound that can make the most jaded car enthusiast weak in the knees.
I've heard people call it a symphony, a masterpiece of mechanical music. But it's not all about the sound, right? What other qualities make the Busso V6 such a gem?
Beyond that sonic beauty, the Busso V6 was known for its smooth and linear power delivery, how eagerly it revs, and its amazing durability. These engines were built to last, and so many of them are still out there decades later singing their mechanical song.
It's mind-blowing that an engine can have such a huge impact on a car's character. It even becomes like a defining trait of the brand itself.
Yeah.
What are some other Alfa Romeo models where the Busso V6 really stood out, where it became like a core part of the car's identity?
Oh, there are so many. The Alfa Romeo GT-V6 from the 80s is a classic example. The 164 sedan from the 90s also really showed off what the Busso V6 could do, and of course the 156 GTA.
Right.
That's where the Busso V6 reached its peak in terms of performance and that amazing sound. Each of these cars had its own distinct personality, but that Busso V6 was like the common thread weaving its magic into each driving experience.
It's crazy how one engine, used across so many years and in such different car models, could be both a constant element and a chameleon, changing its character to fit each car. It speaks to the brilliance of its design and the lasting appeal of that classic V6 setup. And in the 156, we got a 2.5-liter version of this legendary engine, right? Was this like the sweet spot for the 156, the perfect match of engine and car?
It really was. The 2.5-liter Busso V6 was made for the 156. It had the perfect mix of power, refinement, and that unmistakable Alfa Romeo sound. It took the 156 from just a stylish sedan and made it a true driver's car, a machine that could really excite the senses and ignite passion every time you got behind the wheel.
It's amazing how Alfa Romeo managed to put so much innovation, passion, and performance into a 156's engines. From a groundbreaking diesel to a gasoline engine designed to make the most of every spark, and then this legendary V6. It really shows off their engineering skills and their commitment to creating cars that are as exciting to drive as they are to look at. But there's more to the 156 than just the engines. We've touched on it. But let's dig into its racing pedigree. You mentioned that it was a force to be reckoned with in touring car championships like the ETCC. What were some of the key moments in the 156's racing career? Any particular wins or championships that really cemented its place in motorsport history?
Oh, the 156's racing history is quite a story. It dominated the ETCC in the early 2000s, winning an incredible 4 championships in a row. From 2000 to 2003, those were some great years for Alfa Romeo in racing, and the 156 was the star of the show.
4 championships in a row. That's unreal. It must have been something else to see those 156s out on the track, proving themselves against the best touring cars in the world.
It was electric. The races were legendary. The 156 dressed up in its racing colors, battling with rivals like BMW and Audi. The crowds went crazy. You could feel the energy in the air.
The sources talk about drivers like Fabrizio Giovanardi and Gabriele Tarquini as being crucial to the 156's success. What was it about these drivers that made them such a good fit for the car?
Giovanardi and Tarquini were both incredible drivers, famous for their skill, their precision, and their ability to really push the 156 to the max.
Right.
They both won multiple championships, and their fights with other drivers, especially the ones from BMW, were something else. They just clicked with the 156, and their wins secured their place in Alfa Romeo's Racing Hall of Fame.
It's amazing how motorsports can transform a car from a product into a legend. Those wins on the track become part of the car's story, adding a layer of mystique and making people want it even more. It's a feeling that goes beyond just a regular car you can buy.
Absolutely. The 156's racing pedigree is a big part of what makes it so appealing. It reminds you that this wasn't just some fancy sedan. It was a car born from a racing heritage. It was built to break boundaries and go beyond expectations.
And those wins on the track definitely did a lot to boost Alfa Romeo's image, reminding everyone why they were such a major player in the automotive world.
For sure. The 156's racing success really breathed new life into the brand, and it solidified their reputation for performance, passion, and that unmistakable Italian flair.
All right, so we've got a car that's stylish, innovative, can handle both the road and the track. AD has a history rooted in motorsport glory. It's quite a package.
Yeah.
But before we wrap things up, I'm interested in a little detail I found during my research. Apparently, the 156 was a popular choice for law enforcement in Italy and other countries.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't unusual to see Alfa Romeo 156s, both the sedan and the sport wagon, cruising around Italian cities as police cars, all decked out in their police livery. It was a pretty cool sight.
It's not your typical image when you picture a cop car. What made the 156 such a good fit for police work?
Well, I think it was a few things. First off, the 156 was quick and agile, which is key for chases and emergency responses.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It could keep pace with the bad guys while still looking sharp.
Of course, it's an Alfa.
Exactly. Second, it was practical and roomy, with enough space for the officers, their gear, and, well, sometimes even a perp in the back. And let's be real, the 156 just looked awesome in those police colors. It projected this image of authority and style, all wrapped up in a sleek Italian package.
It's like they're saying, we're here to uphold the law, but we're going to do it with a little bit of Italian flair.
Precisely. And I think that perfectly captures the essence of the Alfa Romeo 156. It mixed performance, practicality, and style in a way that few other cars could. It was a head-turner, a statement car, and it definitely left its mark on the automotive world.
It really does seem that way. The Alfa Romeo 156 was more than just a car. It was a cultural icon, a symbol of Italian design and engineering at their best, and a testament to the enduring power of passion and performance. But before we wrap up our deep dive into the world of the Alfa Romeo 156, I'd love to get your take on its long-lasting impact. How did the 156 influence what Alfa Romeo became? What were some of the biggest things they learned from its success? And what lessons can we take away from this incredible car that still hold true in the car world today? Stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll look back at the 156's legacy and explore its lasting influence on the world of cars. Welcome back to Vintage Car Chronicles. We're in the final stretch of our deep dive into the Alfa Romeo 156, and I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on its lasting impact. We've talked about those innovative engines, the iconic design, its amazing performance on the racetrack, but how did the 156 shape what Alfa Romeo became? What were the big takeaways from its success?
The 156's impact on Alfa Romeo was huge. You could say it marked a turning point, signaling a return to form for the brand after a period of, well, some ups and downs. It reminded everyone what Alfa Romeo was capable of, building cars that were beautiful, exciting, and just truly engaging to drive.
It's like the 156 took the brand's DNA, rediscovered it, and then injected it with its fresh dose of style, technology, and performance. It was a statement. Alfa Romeo is back, and they mean business.
Exactly. And you can see its influence in the Alfa Romeos on the road today. The 156's design with that grille, the sculpted lines, that sense of sportiness, it paved the way for models that came after, like the Brera, the Giulietta, even the Giulia we see today.
It's amazing how certain design elements can become so ingrained in a brand's look. It's like the 156 set this new standard for Alfa Romeo design, a standard that they're still drawing from.
Totally. The 156 showed that Alfa Romeo could blend those classic design elements with a modern aesthetic, creating cars that were both timeless and contemporary.
But it wasn't just about the looks, right?
Mm.
The 156 also showed that Alfa Romeo could go toe-to-toe with the big players in the luxury car market, not just on style, but on substance too.
Oh, definitely. The 156's success wasn't just about looking good. It was based on solid engineering, new technologies, and a real commitment to making a car that was a joy for the driver.
And that's a lesson that I think a lot of car makers could learn from. It's not enough to just design a beautiful car. It has to perform. It has to engage. It has to offer something special to the person behind the wheel.
Absolutely. The 156 showed that Alfa Romeo understood that. They didn't just want to build pretty cars. They wanted to build cars that people would fall in love with, cars that would spark passion and excitement.
And that's what makes the 156 such a captivating car for us to explore. It's a testament to the power of great design, the appeal of performance, and the legacy of a brand that's always dared to be different.
It's a reminder that cars can be more than just machines. They can be works of art, expressions of passion, and vehicles that create unforgettable experiences.
Well said. And for our listeners who might be feeling inspired, if you ever get the chance to experience an Alfa Romeo 156 for yourselves, don't hesitate. Take it for a drive. Feel the magic of that Busso V6 and understand why this car still captures hearts and minds today.
And if you can't find a 156 to drive, look up some pictures, watch some videos, dig into its story, and appreciate the craftsmanship and passion that went into making this truly remarkable car.
It reminds us that the world of cars is full of amazing stories just waiting to be discovered and shared. And on that note, we want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of the Alfa Romeo 156. We hope you enjoy the ride. Remember, Vintage Car Chronicles releases new episodes every day, so make sure you subscribe and join us for our next automotive adventure. Until then, happy motoring.